This is Lansing, Michigan, one of America's foremost centers for the manufacture of automobiles. Hardly more than a century ago, it was a wilderness with one log cabin and a sawmill. Then it suddenly became the choice of the state fathers for a capital city, remote enough, they thought, to be safe from foreign invasion. On the grounds of the State College of Agriculture and Applied Science stands the Spartan, a bronze statue which symbolizes the fighting spirit that built one of the nation's foremost contributions to agriculture and science. This edifice, known as Beaumont Tower, stands on the site of the first college in the United States that was devoted exclusively to the teaching of agricultural science. Outstanding among the educational institutions of the state is the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor, and it is particularly noted for its modern interpretation of tolerance, as well as its teachings of the democratic principles of life. The state fish hatchery at Grayling was originally conceived by a group of civic-minded anglers who were concerned about an adequate supply of fish for the many popular trout streams of their state. In these narrow little canals, the fish are reared up to 7 inches or more. Then they are let loose in the streams that flow throughout the adjacent counties. Aside from this, the Grayling hatchery is a popular attraction for visitors, and one of the favored privileges is to be permitted to feed the fish. But the little girl in this instance apparently doesn't consider it much of a privilege. When the time comes for stocking or fish planting, the specimens chosen are gathered in this manner. Incidentally, the name Grayling was taken from a species of fish that once inhabited the streams of Michigan. They were caught by the thousands until during the latter part of the 19th century, they virtually disappeared. This necessitated replenishing the streams with newer and varied species through the good services of the state fish hatcheries, so that today, Michigan boasts of having a generous supply of the best stocked streams in North America, not the least of which is the Au River near Grayling, where canoe fishing is a popular sport. The Au River flows from Grayling to Lake Huron, about 180 miles, and most of the distance can be paddled in a canoe. And now let us turn from these peaceful haunts and gaze upon one of the commercial marts of man, Detroit, the great automobile metropolis of the world, where the Ambassador Bridge spans the Detroit River and connects the United States with Canada. Long before the advent of the automobile, Detroit was a cosmopolitan city, and it is still proud of its diversified industries. Nevertheless, Detroit has become so firmly associated with automobiles that it is now regarded as the automotive capital of the world. And well it might be, for 3/5 of the world's automobiles are made in Michigan, and the bulk of these are FOB Detroit. This automotive empire consumes 4/5 of American rubber imports, and more than half of the plate glass and upholstery leather used by the entire nation. Detroit was founded in 1701 by Antoine Cadillac in the name of France, but was acquired by Great Britain at the close of the French and Indian War and held as a British possession until 1796, at which time it was relinquished to the United States. Among the manufacturing products which first established it as an industrial center were bicycles and carriages, the forerunners of its present-day automobile industry. The Detroit River forms a strait between Lake Erie and Lake St. Clair, and because of this, the French named the city Detroit, meaning the strait. Today, the Detroit River has reached the height of its significance as an artery of commercial traffic, plying constantly between the city of Detroit and the Great Lakes. And it is said that it provides passage for more tonnage than any other inland waterway throughout North America. Facing the waters of Lake St. Clair stands the famous Grosse Pointe Yacht Club, home port for many of the best pleasure boats that ply the Great Lakes. Grosse Pointe is also known as Detroit's Gold Coast, where we find the summer homes of many of the fortunate ones who profited by the industrial development of the city. The Detroit Park system includes many children's playgrounds, fully equipped with extensive facilities for wholesome diversion. A few miles from here in the suburbs of the city stands one of the most interesting little communities in America, and it is known as Greenfield Village, founded by Henry Ford, wherein may be seen original models or reproductions of the media of transportation, machinery, and early American architecture. Outstanding among which is this facsimile of Independence Hall in Philadelphia. Prior to Mr. Ford's advent in the automobile industry, he was keenly interested in the manufacture of timepieces. And this reproduction of a world-famous institution houses a unique collection of antique watches and jewelry. The mythical figures of Gog and Magog striking the hours are originals and were transported from the ancient Bennett jewelry firm of London, along with a considerable portion of the facade. A duplicate of the old Swanee steamer upon which Thomas Edison, an intimate friend of Henry Ford, once passed his rare moments of spare time fishing. A portion of the Swanee River was actually reproduced for the boat, and beside the stream, the birthplace of Stephen Foster, composer of the immortal Swanee River song, was very appropriately transplanted, as we see it here. The Noah Webster House, in which the famous American lexicographer compiled his original dictionary, is typical of the homes of well-to-do Americans in the early 19th century. A replica of a stone house from Cotswold, England, where Henry Ford personally acquired most of the stones and furnishings. This old windmill was transported here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. The house in which Luther Burbank, the famous horticulturist, was born in 1849. The old railway station, where the precocious young newsboy Tom Edison was ejected as a result of a fire on the train caused by a chemical explosion in the baggage car, where young Edison had rigged up a laboratory. Perhaps there is no greater landmark in Greenfield Village than the birthplace of its founder, the late Henry Ford, who was born in this house on July 30th, 1863. A champion of democracy and a disciple of hard work, Henry Ford proved the merits of private enterprise in a democratic country and gave to the world the results of his genius. For this, the world in general, and the automobile industry in particular, commemorates his memory, while the endless line of cars to which he contributed so much continues to flow from the city of Detroit out into the world at large. And it is with this thought that we now conclude our call on Michigan.